Okay, so welcome to Red Clean, and we are again with a question. You know, second question that we posted on Telegram group, and so let's discuss that. Okay, now we have a 30-year-old male. Okay, so it's a young patient. It's a young patient with a history of mild dyspnea. Patient has a history of mild dyspnea. Important clinical symptoms, and there are few negative findings. What negative findings we have? We have no history of any toxic exposure. Patient KFT profile is normal with normal serum calcium, and we have imaging. Okay, chest X-ray and CT scan, which we're going to show next. The patient's normal KFT profile means the patient's serum creat or BUN. Okay, these are the parameters that are going to be normal. Okay, and patient has no history of any exposure or toxic exposure, whatever it is. That patient is, there's no history of occupational exposure also, by just mean that there's no toxic exposure. Any example like, toxic fumes or toxic gas, or or drugs, or let's say for example silica exposure, asbestos exposure, whatever it is. So we do not have any kind of toxic exposures, which rules out few one of the DD there in these one of the options, and that is your acute silicoproteinosis. That is out of the list because there is no history of toxic exposure. Okay, so we'll go in detail of the options. Okay, but I'm just telling you how to approach a question. So we have no history of any toxic exposure. Now we have a normal serum calcium. Normal serum calcium. What it helps us to rule out the fourth option. Why? Because metastatic calcification. Now metastatic calcification anywhere in the body, it happens due to increased serum calcium. Okay, when your serum calcium is increased, it gets deposited into the tissues, and that's what causes a metastatic calcification. Now patient having metastatic calcification patient can have CKD, which leads to secondary parathyroidism. Okay, and that is why patients serum creatinine and BUN are said to be normal, because the patient question wants us to rule out this metastatic calcification as a DD of this disease. Okay, which I'm gonna show next on CT scan or chest X-ray. So we are left with the two options now. For these two options, we need to look at the chest X-ray and HRCT. Okay, so if you look at the chest X-ray, we can clearly see in this chest X-ray that there are bilateral lung fields showing increased density. Okay, and the increase in density is characteristically lower. Okay, lower zone predominance is seen, and this increased density is clearly causing the obscuration of adjoining structures. If you see the right hemidiaphragm and left hemidiaphragm, it's absent, near to absent, because it's obscured by the increase in density. Similarly, if you see right heart border or left heart border, they also reduced in they are not that discernible, because of what? They are silhouetted by increase in density in bilateral lower zones. Okay, that's what we can see on the X-ray. When we look at the HRCT, this is a lung window. In this lung window, what you can clearly see, that there is a deposition of something. Okay, which is there's a nodular deposition. The bilateral lungs are, there's a nodular deposition or nodular involvement of bilateral lung fields at this part of the snapshot, and you can clearly see that this white deposition of something white is getting deposited. But on lung window I can't say, because we have to go for soft tissue window to make it confirm that it is calcification. So you see it along the mediastinal pleura as well. Okay, so and on the soft tissue window, I can clearly see that this appears to be calcium. So there's an increased multifocal diffuse calcium deposition there, predominantly in the lower lobes. That's what I can get from the imaging findings. So what options we are left with? We are left with two options. One is your amyloidosis and your pulmonary alveolar microlithiasis. Okay, so what exactly they are? First of all, look at the discussion of these two topics. So for that purpose, see, when you talk about these two options, first let's consider pulmonary alveolar microlithiasis. Now what exactly pulmonary alveolar microlithiasis is? That, let's say this is your this is your alveoli, and in alveoli you have what? In the wall of alveoli you have pneumocytes. Okay, so what happens that from these pneumocytes, there's a in the wall of alveoli there's a channel, and this channel is what involved in phosphate transport. So this phosphate transport happens into the cell through this channel. And what happens, this channel is defective in this particular disease, which causes the phosphate to increase in alveolar space, intraalveolar space, and this pulls the calcium, okay, wherever phosphate goes, calcium also goes, which leads to formation of calcium phosphate. And these calcium phosphate is deposited in the form of microliths or calcispheres. Okay, so microlith deposition happens. Now this microlith deposition starts at the periphery of the lung, okay, in the initial stage and subpleural area, but later it progresses to central area and ultimately whole of the lung can get involved. But predominantly there is a lower lobe involvement that is seen in pulmonary alveolar microlithiasis. Okay, that is seen. Now this is one thing, but importantly what we see clinically, that patient, even after having extensive involvement of the lung, patient has mild symptoms, okay, or patient can also be even asymptomatic in this particular disease. Now this disease, since it is the cause of disease is due to an abnormal transport channel or a protein, this disease has a genetic basis. That is why this disease can be familial as well, and this disease can be sporadic as well. And patient's age of involvement is 30 to 50 years of age. Okay, so that's what it is, pulmonary alveolar microlithiasis. Okay, so you see this particular type of picture which we show, the answer to the question, as we know, that is pulmonary alveolar microlithiasis. The classical picture that is shown by this, these imaging findings, that you see that there's increased density due to calcium deposition, microlith deposition, which obscures the surrounding dense structures. And if you see, it's along the mediastinal pleura, that's why it's causing this. And this nodular or patchy involvement that is there. Now if you want to ask me where exactly this deposition is there, then definitely in the secondary pulmonary lobule. This deposition is either in the center of the lobule or in the perilobular area that is there. So there is a two locations that it gets deposited, so it gives this picture. Now important thing to be considered here is that what can amyloidosis can give rise to the same picture or not. So let's look at this. Okay, see, amyloidosis is also a disease that is amyloidosis, I have written a wrong spelling. Okay, let me rub this. See, amyloidosis, yeah, amyloidosis can also give rise to multifocal calcium deposition. But important point is that patient's age is little bit will be older. If the same imaging findings that you have in this, the imaging findings of the the chest X-ray or CT scan that has been given in the question, if you have similar findings, has to be there on the amyloidosis side also. Patient's age will be little bit older, around 50 onwards. And another important point would be in amyloidosis that there'll be either diffuse involvement of the lung, there can be localized involvement of the lung. So let's discuss about a type. Okay, now first I'll just discuss it, the types of imaging patterns that we see in amyloidosis. See, on imaging amyloidosis can have three types. Okay, if lung is involved, okay, if lung is involved by amyloidosis. Now amyloidosis is a multi-system disease. Remember this thing, that amyloid gets deposited. Amyloid is a protein, is a fibrillar protein that gets deposited multiple systems of the body, that and one of them is the pulmonary system. Okay, now there are different types of amyloidosis, we need not to go into detail, okay, otherwise the video will become lengthy. But ultimately there's amyloid deposition, and that is what is causing the imaging findings also. So when lungs get involved, it can involve in three ways. Okay, one involvement is known as your diffuse alveolar septal pattern. Second pattern is your localized nodular pattern, and third pattern is your tracheobronchial nodular pattern. Okay, now look at them in the images. See, uh, and the patient's age is characteristically little bit older. So there's a calcium deposition. Now if you see diffuse alveolar septal, let's look at the image and see and discuss the findings. See, This particular image, if you see clearly, you know, uh, this image shows multiple nodules that are scattered. Right side is more involved than left, definitely. And also along with the nodules, if you see, these are the nodules. Okay, these are the nodules, and they appear to be calcified on the soft tissue window. Assume that. So this is a case of amyloidosis, diagnosed case of amyloidosis, and you see multiple linear, these structures, multiple linear structures that are there in association with these. Okay, these are nothing but your interlobular septa. Interlobular septa. So interlobular septa are basically what? They are thickened, and we see nodules. Okay. Now these nodules, if you see in the anterior part of this right lung, they have coalesced, they have joined to form a patchy area of increased density. So they have formed a patchy consolidation. So these are the three things that you will see in this diffuse alveolar septal form of amyloidosis. Okay, that you see. Okay, and that is what is seen in this particular pattern, and this pattern characteristically is associated with very severe symptoms patient has, and these symptoms are going in concordance with the imaging findings, because as the disease progresses, symptoms also progress. But this goes in contrast with the, the question. In question it is mentioned that the patient has mild dyspnea, and once you see the imaging findings, you will find that almost near complete involvement of the lung is there. So the imaging findings are so large and symptoms are simply mild. So this, there's a disconcordance between what symptoms, clinical picture, and imaging findings. That is what is there in pulmonary alveolar microlithiasis, which would not be expected in a case of amyloidosis. Otherwise, amyloidosis can also give rise to that particular picture. You have multiple nodules, calcified nodules, also in amyloidosis. Okay, so that is what exactly it is. As the disease progresses, patient can ultimately even die due to pulmonary involvement. Okay, due to amyloidosis, but that is not the case in pulmonary alveolar microlithiasis. Okay, so and this pattern, if you see, this pattern is there in your localized nodular form of amyloidosis, in which you have multiple large nodules that are scattered there. Okay, this particular type of pattern is rarely associated with symptoms. Either asymptomatic patient is there or patient is having mild symptoms. But if we see our imaging finding in the question, they are not like this. There is a diffuse, near diffuse involvement of lungs are there, but the patient symptoms are, on the other hand, what? Mild. Okay, so that cannot be expected in amyloidosis. Okay, in amyloidosis, for that particular extent of involvement of the lungs, the symptoms had to be severe, which are not there in our question, and that is why the diagnosis is pulmonary alveolar microlithiasis. Another imaging, this is a chest X-ray for multiple nodules. Okay, if you had looked, I'm just telling you this case was of amyloidosis. Okay, this was a diagnosed case of amyloidosis. This image. Okay, and so it goes with the localized nodular form. Okay, because multiple nodules are there, and the patient will be expected to be either having mild symptoms or patient would be asymptomatic. But this okay, but if I ask you that this chest X-ray is there, and I don't give you, any history that pertains to amyloidosis, you would think of metastatic lesions as a first DD, because that's quite scattered and it looks like cannonball metastasis. Anyway, so that is about the amyloidosis. We discussed the two patterns. We discussed third pattern is involvement of the tracheobronchial tree. So what exactly happens? That amyloid deposition is there. Now, amyloid deposition can happen in a tracheobronchial tree. Let's say this is your tracheobronchial tree. Okay, so these are the main bronchi. Now they will further divide also. So what can happen that in the trachea or in the bronchi, in the wall, there can be multiple amyloid nodules that can be there, which can be deposited. Or the another possibility is that apart from nodules, you can have trachea in the cross section, whose wall can get thickened concentrically. So either the concentric thickening or multiple nodular wall thickening can be there. These are the two patterns that you see in tracheobronchial nodular pattern. So that these are the three patterns of amyloidosis, and in all of these patterns you will see calcification, whether it's a nodule, whether it's a consolidation, whether it's a septal thickening. So calcification will be seen. So let's move on to the question what we discussed, and in this question you can clearly see that you can see multiple calcified, small tiny nodules. Also, they are not that large as we saw in this amyloidosis picture, but still it would be a confusing diagnosis. But the most important thing that you see is that the patient's clinical history suggests that patient had normal symptoms or near normal symptoms or mild dyspnea. Okay, patient could have been even asymptomatic, and the patients have extensive involvement of the lungs on imaging. That is why the diagnosis of pulmonary alveolar microlithiasis is made. Okay, and definitely amyloidosis was a closed DD, but there would have been other findings as well in amyloidosis. Okay, in question you might see that serum immunoglobulins are increased, or the patient had a history of a chronic inflammatory disorder that may give rise to secondary amyloidosis, or whatsoever. A patient or in question might be available Congo red positive stain is there, whatever it is. But amyloidosis, it was a closed ED, and patient age is also less. So patient is a young patient. In amyloidosis, quiet patient might be patient, let's say for example primary amyloidosis is one that is there in association with plasma cell disorders, which are quite later in the age, more than 50 or more than 60. So this diagnosis goes in favor of pulmonary alveolar microlithiasis. Thank you.